May I know, do you have any work experience with AWS?
I had a bit of experience with AWS. That is, I have worked on AWS Lambda, that is serverless computing. But I did a POC for one of one of the client of the new gen banks. However, that POC we are not able to move forward because of the constraint of the resources we do have. So not a lot
Mm.
of exposure, but yeah, if given opportunity, I can basically leverage my. I can basically work on that part to get a hands on
Yeah, for the
AWS.
Lambda. Okay. Can you let me know when you're using Lambda, in which service you are triggered to Lambda running?
So Kevin, I think since it was a POC kind of stuff, so we didn't have the real time observability on that part. So we just wanted to explore the
Oh,
idea of the serverless computing. So we have started, but not fully have explored the idea of it. So can't able to
mhm.
answer the question really because we are
Okay,
still
okay,
set up
okay,
in that part.
okay, okay, okay. I understand. Thank you. So my next question is related to the Java.
Okay.
Can you let me know what's the new features released in Java 8?
Yeah, sure. So we have something called stream APIs, which we have introduced, and also functional interfaces. New functional interfaces has been introduced. Also, new datetime APIs was introduced. Also involves Lambda expression and functional programming paradigms. Uh, and also there's one new engine for the JavaScript to understand the native Java code, that is Meshball engine they have introduced. Apart from that, future completable features also was introduced. Um, and apart from that,
Okay. So yeah, thank you. So could you please elaborate on the completable future?
yeah, sure. So, completable feature is basically a non-blocking synchronization computation, which basically help us to achieve the result on asynchronous fashion. And it can be used in a numbers of way. Like it can be used within the multi-threading context, also can be used with the single thread concept as well. So the major benefit over the feature which we already have in the Java 7 is basically it can chain n numbers of it can chain n numbers of completable feature within it. So you can basically chain out the different functions. It does contain different set of functions like supply async, then chaining, then apply. So it helps us. So in a sense, it helps us in non-blocking asynchronous execution of any piece of code in a asynchronous fashion.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. And can you let me know how does the garbage collector work in heap memory?
So come again?
Can you let me know how does the garbage collector work in heap memory?
Sure. If I talking about the garbage collector, so there's two major areas which garbage collector uses. That is called minor area and the major area. So under minor area, we have three spaces like we have hidden spaces in the S0 and S1 spaces, and then in the major GC we have actually a whole contiguous memory over there. So what happens is like whenever there's so both these spaces of the minor GC, basically hidden and S0 and S1, works on the aging factor. So whenever there's a new reference being is ready for the garbage collector. So like the garbage collector basically capture those references for the object or for it basically not being used. It put into the AWS space. Now, after some time, let's say if the scope of the application is still running, then it goes to a different spaces like S0 and S1. And then when it dies, then eventually if it is either not required, then it moves to the S0 based on some base S1 based on some condition. And after that, after that things has been closed up, then it goes to the major GC where it has been taken care based on the strategy which we are using.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Can you let me know what's the difference between runnable interface and callable interface?
Okay, so Runnable interfaces basically, let's say, so basically it works on thread class, which implements the method and uses the other method to start the execution of the thread. Now, with the callable, basically helps you to return any value after the completion of the thread. So it has return type. You can define your own return type based on it. So basically, callable is basically used in scenario where you wanted to capture what is the output of that particular um, a thread execution. Let's say you can use callable inside the feature and then submit the query so that it will takes out the input based on based on the feature object. Now with the Runnable, you can basically return out the value uh, after the thread has been completed the execution. You can store it in somewhere, but you cannot return that particular
Mm.
value.
Okay, thank you. So can you let me know what's the difference between synchronized and ReentrantLock?
Synchronized is basically um, it basically helps you in multi-threading environment where you wanted a single piece of let's say it can be used in the blocks as well as in the method itself. So if it is being used in the class level, let's say, so only one thread can execute on that particular synchronized uh, on the synchronized block, and the other thread will eventually wait for for its turn. And also it can be used within the method itself. So on that particular method, if you wanted some synchronized fashion, so that you can also use in the method. Now coming back to the redundant lock, redundant lock. I redundant lock. I actually haven't used it, but I I, I have seen it in the code base, but I haven't recall what exactly. Although there's definitely
Okay,
been
okay.
used in the multi-thread environment, but not able to recall
Mm.
where actually we can use.
Okay, no worries at all. Thank you. Can you let me know what's the difference between HashMap and concurrent HashMap?
Sure. So HashMap, basically these two both are the implementation of the map interface. Now the major difference comes when it comes with the with the computational with the basically HashMap will give you an exception, concurrent modification exception, when used with while iterating to the HashMap, you are modifying the element of it. But that is not the case with the concurrent HashMap. So it does not give you an exception, and basically it works on the segment level rather than locking the whole capacity of the hash while doing while
Mm.
using in the concurrent environment.
Mm. Thank you. Can you let me know what's the difference between ArrayList and linked list?
Yeah, so ArrayList is basically a contiguous memory allocation, whereas linked list is a discrete memory allocation. Now, other list is being used where in the scenario where you have a more where you wanted to achieve more searching kind of functionality, but it is bad for the inserting and deletion because it has to basically shift the element from one place to another. Now this is where the linked list comes in. So it is better in insertion and deletion, but it is not good with the searching part since it has to go to each and every pointer to search it in over the as it is a discrete memory. Now,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, makes sense. Thank you. And can you let me know the use case for ThreadLocal?
ThreadLocal basically let's say. if you want, so ThreadLocal have its own memory as per se and can work on its on work on its all well, it can work on its own stack where it has can have its own local memory, can invoke an own private initializer. So basically, how it segregates from the thread is like the thread basically uses it does not have its own memory. It uses the memory of it uses the memory of the process, and then essentially it is being different from the stack of that particular process. Where the thread local is quite different in that fashion. Also, it is being generally used when you have a computational, when you wanted to achieve a better computation on the, let's say, if you wanted to achieve like pre computation and post computation and after deletion. So it is essential for a particular thread to have those kind of functionality. Then you can use the thread.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Can you let me know what is the Spring AOP?
Can you come again?
Yeah, please let me know what is the Spring aspect-oriented programming.
Okay, okay, sure, sure. Spring
Uh,
AOP is basically help us to achieve the cross-cutting concern, which is different from the business which you wanted to achieve across your application, but it should be different from the business or the service layer logic. So let's say you can have the EOP based on a logging part if you wanted. Any DB, if you want, if you are using two DBs, you can also invoke the EOP. Now uh, it has certain annotations like at the rate aspect at the class level you can use to invoke the aspect oriented uh, feature about related to that particular class. It can also it has advice, point cut, and join point. So
mhm.
advice can be like if, if you wanted to do any execution before the invocation of any method or invocation of a class, you can use before, at the rate after return, and then at the rate after throw, and there's something else at the rate around which is being used, uh, majorly being used at the rate around, which help you to if you do want any to wanted to do any pre-computation within the execution, and after the execution if you wanted to do any kind of stuff related to any method, you can achieve by the at the rate around. Now, point cut is basically help us to define which segment of the, let's say, if I wanted to, let's say, since the repository always contain the public matter, right? So if you wanted to achieve, let's say, how much time a particular repository is taking, and the method related to it, you can apply the UP around it, and you can point out, you can have to define the structure, you can at the rate point cut, and then provide the structure like com dot the structure of the repository, and then basically if you wanted to call all the method of the repository class, or if you wanted to, so that expression you can provide related to that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Can you let me know how's the what? Can you let me know what do you think of how do you understanding for Spring inversion of control?
Spring inversion of control basically state that the responsibility of the object creation, its management, and usage and destruction can be handled by the container instead of the application code. So it basically invert the responsibility from the application code to the container. And in order to achieve
Mhm.
it, you can use the at the rate auto to inject the bean created in the container to inject into the bean in the any concrete class or any abstract.
Thank you. Can you let me know how to create a thread pool in Java? How to
Thread
create
pool.
a thread? Mhm.
Okay. So you can create a thread pool mm, by calling executor dot. There's you can define like four kind of thread pool. Like you can create like executor dot new fixed thread pool. You can also create a new. cached thread pool. News. You can also create one thread pool. So there's one class like it's a singleton thread pool. I don't recall the method name, but I think you can also
Mm-hmm.
create one.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, in terms of the thread pool, can you let me know what's the difference between couple size and the maximum pool size?
Can you come again?
Couple size, yeah, yeah. Couple size and the maximum pool size.
Okay, okay, that's also. So essentially, it takes the idea of basically the pool. Why we create pool? It takes the idea of the uses of the say similar type of similar pools. If you wanted to use, now you need to define like how much maximum pool you wanted it to have, after which it will again go to going to the all the levels of entity manager and transaction manager. If you wanted to reduce the call to set out those parameters again and again for each and every thread, you can create a pool out of it, and then you can define like how much maximum thread pool will be required for your application, and what is the core tool it should be using initially to basically start the execution on basically if you wanted to achieve a multi-threaded functionality, then you can start with this particular pool initial core size, and then maximum you can do go to this. If the maximum exceeded, then basically you have to create starting from the entity manager and the transaction manager, then it again goes to that part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wonderful. Can you let me know? Do you know how to use Swagger?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Can you let me know how's the RESTful API looks like?
Sure. So okay, so uh, so the practices should be like you should be using the nouns instead of the verbs for your endpoint, and then there should be a proper example you have to give in. You have to give for every each and every API in which each and every scenario with the query parameters, or if there's any request parameter you are giving, and apart from that it has to contain the the right set of status code, like under which scenario it can throw like 200 201, under which scenario should throw 400 series, under which scenario should throw 500 series. Ideally, it is better to segregate out the controllers based on the tag names for your functionality. Let's say if my functionality is for a different purpose, then it is better to segregate out those the controller part. Now, currently we are doing with the use of Swagger.editor to
Mhm.
if we were to edit any
Mhm.
specs.
Great, thank you. Can you let me know what design patterns you are familiar with?
Sorry, should come again.
Yeah, can you let me know what design patterns you are familiar with
Okay, so in the context of the microservices, or in the context of like normal Java design?
in Java? In Java.
Oh, in Java. I was aware of the singleton factory. Um, Decorator I'm aware of, but we haven't implemented yet. And observer design pattern is there. I'm not aware of that part.
Mhm. Okay. So, okay, let me know how did you use the observe design pattern in your project?
So essentially, what we have, so I will give you a use case what currently we are using. So observer design pattern basically state that. So in general, like design pattern generally deals with the interfaces and abstract class and how we can make a better use of the use case. So observer design pattern basically says like there's one observable object and there was observer. So basically when the observer basically wants a regular update from the observer of observable activity, then in that case we basically uses the observer design pattern. So now let's take an example of the magazine and the subscriber. So the subscriber get to know, like, what is the latest magazine. The magazine publisher basically is publish. So he will get the notification of it via SMS or via mail. So basically, in essence, the observer need to have some sort of mechanism under which it can get the regular update on of the observable object. Now it can be a scenario like where you can have like a scheduled update, and you can have a you can have like the strategy you can follow to update to basically update your subscribers.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. Could you please just brief what is a solid principle?
Yeah, sure. So so basically a coding practice. It's a best coding, and it comes under best coding practice principles. So it stands for, it's a basically an acronym. Stands for S stands for single responsibility principle. So basically states that the the responsibility of a particular class or interface should be discrete, and it should not interfere with the other responsibility of the other class. Let's say in our Spring Boot APIs, we also in our Spring Boot object, we also segregate out, like we have a different package for repository, we have a different package for entity, we have a different package for service layer, we have a different package for the helper and also utils. So it basically we are doing the segregation, the single responsibility, that particular this class is
Mhm.
responsible for this. Now coming back to the
Mm.
O stands for open for the extension and close for modification. So which basically stands for, like, once you have introduced a layer of layer of abstraction at the start of the application, then essentially, let's say one interface should be open for the extension but closed for modification, because the modification will basically have an impact on the underlying or the implementing class it uses. Basically, the class that uses the interface, it will be it has to also modify it according to that. So basically, it is stated that the interface should be open for the extension, so you can extend out any functionality, but should not change the existing functionality to modify it to something else.
Mm.
Now
Thank you.
now L stands for the list of substitution principle. So which state that let's take a scenario that A interfaces like the B and C interfaces implements A interface, extend A interface. So basically it's stated that if I were to remove a A interface, then basically B can be replaceable with A. So essentially mean that it should not break out the functionality of C. So basically, it should be replaceable. The child should be replaceable of the parent, irrespective of the change in functionality or any sort of behavior. Now coming back
Mhm.
to I says that interface segregation. It actually does relate to the first principle and the second principle. So basically, it's relate the if you have n numbers of interfaces, then basically each interface should be coupled with only one number of functionality, and so it is better to create n numbers of interfaces rather than segregating all those interfaces into one for the better scalability of the code. Now
Mm.
D
Thank you.
stand.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's section. Thank you.
Okay,
Sorry to interrupt you. Sorry.
no worries.
Yeah, if I get yeah, if I get the answer what I want, so I will disrupt you. Sorry.
No worries, no worries.
Okay. So can you when we're talking about microservices, can you let me know the benefits for microservices?
Yeah, sure. So the first benefit is basically so you can use n numbers of technology stack uh, to incorporate your microservices, and also if the microservices number is small, it is better in monitoring and logging perspective, and also It is also beneficial for the faster prod time, faster deployment time, since it creates a single entry pod inside the Kubernetes. And also, mm, it in- it basically helps us in scalability as well, because you can scale
Mm-hmm.
down, and irrespective of uh, the effect it does on the other microservices, you can scale down better, since it's a single deployable unit. And mm, apart from that, you can also put down your cost cutting concern, if you want for it to be enabled in any microservices, not for the microservices. You can also achieve that. You can also version your application based on your requirement. um, and
Okay, thank you. Thank you. When we're using microservices, can you let me know how to handle a distributed transaction?
so distributed transaction, we can achieve by some design pattern we can use, like we can use two-phase commit. Uh, we can also use a Saga design pattern. Apart from that, we can also use CQRs, like command to response execution, and then um, so these design pattern will help us to achieve the distributed transactions.
Mm, okay. So can you let me know what's the difference between two-phase and the three-phase design pattern?
Uh, Two-phase and three-phase. Mm, Three-phase I haven't explored, so I can give you a two-phase. Two-phase is basically,
Mm-hmm.
it is good if the microservice is not highly scalable, because it has to wait for basically it has to wait for basically it is waiting for the it is basically it's a synchronous process. It is waiting for the other party to let them know that it is being done. So then it has a forwarding motion. Otherwise, it will goes to the compensating action.
Mm, okay, thank you. So could you please elaborate on the Saga pattern?
Yeah, sure. So there are two ways to achieve Saga design pattern. So first is by orchestration, and the second is choreography. So within the orchestration, there we are using a single controller, which basically takes care of the single transaction, basically dividing a single transaction into different entities. Sorry, not the entities, but small part transactions. And with the when we talk about the choreographies, basically each microservice should be responsible for forwarding action as well as compensating action. Uh, but with the
Mhm.
orchestrator, it is the controller responsibility to have the compensating action, and as well as the not the forwarding action, but the compensating action.
Mm, okay, thank you. Can you let me know how can we deal with the distributed tracing?
Okay, distributed tracing we can achieve via micrometers, by use of Jipkin libraries. um, and also currently we are using service mesh. So we have invoked like Joagger, and basically we have invoked installed Joagger for that part, for distributed tracing. And
Mm,
behind
okay.
the scene micrometers and Jenkins basically we are using as a dependencies to help us out.
Mm, thank you. So please let me know how to use the Zipkin, what you mentioned.
So related to the Zipkin, Uh, I think it was a long time back, so let me just. Uh,
Mm,
uh, um, I think there are some annotations which we are using. I think I didn't recall it, Kevin. That
okay, okay, no worries at all. Yeah, so I'm familiar with ELK, E for Elasticsearch, L for Logstash, K for Kibana.
yeah, we are using like Elasticsearch and Kibana for logging out for checking out the production issues, if any. So we have the clusters and its partitions with the servers. So yeah, we are using it.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. And do you know how to use Jenkins?
Kevin, we are so I think Jenkins is a part of a Lightspeed class. We have migrated our part to enterprise. So previously we are used, I think, I think one
Mhm.
and a half years back we are using Jenkins, but prior to now we are using Tecton for our CI. So it is
Kingdom.
being
Yeah,
currently
it's a second.
integrated with Bitbucket. So whenever we are pushing the code, internally it picks out and basically build the image based on the stages. So also we are currently using the Helm chart. So that's the last stage, and then basically Artifactory and the deployable image will be created after that. Before that, we have certain stages as well, like git config is there, and then after that, the
Yeah, sorry. Sorry, give me a second.
that's
Yeah, sorry. Give me a second.
yeah.
I'm so sorry. My baby is crying. It's
No, no,
crying. Sorry.
no worries, no worries.
Yeah. And so may I know, do you edit a pipeline of the script?
Actually,
I
Kevin, we have a different
mm,
DevOps teams which caters to that.
oh
So
okay,
we
okay,
haven't explored
okay.
this.
Understand.
Anyways,
Yeah.
I have gone
Yeah.
through the
Normally.
YMLs and all this stuff. In my free time, I like to
Mm,
go through it. But any question, I'm not sure whether I'll be able to answer that.
okay. Okay. Understand. Thank you. So do you use Docker? Do you
uh,
edit a Docker file?
yeah, we are using Dockerfile for that. But I think uh, internally is being used in the Kubernetes for the image creation, since we are using the Red Hat OpenShift, that's the enterprise Kubernetes. So yeah, I see that
Uh,
the file is there, but uh, the script is basically written over there. So yeah.
okay. So then do you know what is a Docker Compose?
Docker Compose.
Mhm.
No.
Okay. Understand. So just now you mentioned for the Kubernetes.
Yeah.
So please let me know what's the difference between service and the deployment of the Kubernetes.
Deployment. So deployment is basically creates help us in creating the pods. Now pod is basically a single deployable unit. Um, and also service helps us now the service helps us in basically like the functionality, like it consists, since we have pushed into the service mesh. Now it is essentially being used for service discovery, if any insight within the topology. um, and
Mm.
also deployment also helps us in load balancing, and as well as within the HPA also it comes under.
Mm.
Whereas the service, I think majorly being used for the how the traffic will flow. It should be um, on the currently we are using, I think, round robin fashion based on
Okay, thank
usage.
you. Thank you. Please let me know what is the ingress of the Kubernetes.
So Ingress is basically work as a front end controller, which takes care of all the incoming requests. And since we are using the service mesh, so the functionality adds more. So basically, internally, it redirect the particular request which it comes to go through the Swagger, and then also sorry, not the Swagger. yeah, it goes to the Saga, and as well as it helps us for any sort of cost content answer. Like it goes to the load balancing part. It also goes to the uh, traffic controller, since we are also using blue and green deployment strategy. Um,
Mhm.
and
Thank you. Yeah, yeah, thank you. And can you let me know what is the config map of the Kubernetes?
So ConfigMap generally being used to define any configuration based upon your pod, based upon your not the pod but the application as such. So let's say if you wanted to mount any images, then also can use the config map over there. Also, currently we are using a config map to store the binary keys as well. Currently we are using JKS and also P12 file to store into the config map, so that can also be
Mhm.
done with config map.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. Can you let me know what's the difference between mock and spy in Mockito?
Mock basically is being uh, put over the object where you wanted to use particular dependencies on the class under test. Let's say if A has a dependency, let's say if I'm auto wiring A into B class, then basically we, while writing the test case, we need to write at the rate of mock over the A class A in the instance of it, so that when it mock the functionality, it uses the mock object of this class. Now coming to the
Mhm.
spy is basically used over the object or the class under test for which we created the object of. Uh, now, I think uh,
Okay.
that's what I know.
Yeah, thank you. That's great. And are you familiar with Cucumber?
Cucumber, I have heard of it, but never have used it.
Okay, okay, thank you. And may I know what messaging queue you ever used?
So currently we are using Kafka, but in our project we haven't started it. I was talking about a different project that was using Kafka. So yeah, Kafka is there, which we are using as a for the asynchronous
Mhm.
communication or for the messaging.
Okay, great. Can you let me know what is the partition and the topic of Kafka?
Uh, Partition. Mm, so topic is basically every stream of data when it flows through the every stream of data when it flows through the queue uh, that has a specific name around it, so that the consumer and the producer can push the data to that particular topic. Now coming back to
Mhm.
partition, so Kafka have its own server. Now you can have different partitions over there, spacing from vertical or horizontal partition, and
Mhm.
it
Okay,
is
thank
your
you.
responsibility to input the maximum. Sorry.
Mhm. Great. When we're using Kafka, can you let me know how to guarantee message delivery?
How was it to guarantee message reading? Okay. So generally, we uses Kafka on the asynchronous, where we wanted the asynchronous communication to happen between the microservices. In that, generally we use Kafka, so it doesn't have to wait for any sort of notification or something like that. Now, to
Mhm.
guarantee the delivery of the messages. I think we can. Um, no, that part I not, not prepared.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so do you know how to use Kafka to implement message ordering?
So you want it. So currently we so there's a dependencies with they have a started dependency for the Apache Kafka. Um, and after that, we have to define. So currently in our project, we are using one JKS for that, which consists of the certificate. Then, while the certificate is there, then we have to create our own configuration to hold the certificate. Once we have all those setups completed, then we can essentially start using Kafka, and then basically it comes under different annotation we can use, like what are the annotations? Mm,
Okay, thank you very much. And in terms of the relational database, can you let me know how many approach to optimize query performance?
yeah, sure. So first point is like generally uh, we should not be use star uh, mark to get um, all the columns. Whatever is required, we should be giving that. Also, we should not be using any wildcard um, uh, symbols like percentage, which basically decreases the performance. Uh, Also, we should not be using the symbolize equals. We should be using like is equal, is not equals. Also, for the subquery, it's better to write CTE like common table expressions. Um, and also it is better to have the indexes wherever where clauses contains like the contains which columns, so it is better to have the indexes over there. Multi indexes also will work. um,
Mm.
and
Okay, thank you. Can you let me know what's the difference between index and composite index?
so index consists of only uh, one column, whereas composite index can consist of n numbers of column. So basically, it is generally used to differentiate a particular zone. Let's say if you have a data which for which one if you have table for which one column is not sufficient to differentiate between the row, then you can go for the composite index. Otherwise, a normal index will work.
Mhm. Thank you. Do you know what is the execution plan of the database?
Execution plan generally helps us to identify like where are the indexes being placed on, and how much computation it takes for each and every um, predefined keyword it uses. Let's say if I wanted a group by clause, so that it will give a plan like you should be using this clause and this columns like to improve the performance of the query. Generally, it
Mhm.
uses for the complex query to understand like where exactly the bottleneck or the performance can be improved based on certain
Mhm.
computations.
Great, thank you. Can you let me know what annotations you often use for Spring JPA?
Spring JPA at the rate entity, at the rate table, at the rate columns, at the rate join column, at the rate one to many, at the rate at the rate transactional, at the rate
Yeah,
enable transaction management.
yeah, great. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And in comparison to relational database, please let me know the benefits for NoSQL database.
Uh, NoSQL database is like the basically the major difference is like the relational database has a rigid structure, so it has to be have on the basis of columns and the rows. Whereas with the non SQL, now with the non SQL, it comes in semi structured data or non structured data. So you can have the semi-structured data and non-structured data, irrespective whether you are having the columns or whether you don't have the columns or the row. So basically, we can also set the values as we can also store the JSON in the NoSQL, but the JSON cannot be stored into the RDBs. Also, it generally with the generally with the RDBMS, we can uh, uh, but the scalability works on a horizontal fashion. Not sorry, the scalability, yeah, on the horizontal fashion, and with the NoSQL we can also vertically increase that with using
Okay,
different
thank
partition.
you. Thank you. So may I know what particular NoSQL database you ever used?
I haven't got the chance to work on the NoSQL.
Oh, okay, no worries at all. So are you familiar with Redis?
Uh, that is no. I have used
Oh, okay,
Hazelcast for that.
I understand. Thank you. And can you let me know what is the Spring Boot actuator?
So Spring Boot Actuator help us in monitoring and health checks for our microservices. Like it has different endpoints, at /health /info. It can also help us to understand what are the beans has been created and how much beans has been written. So it has /beans. Uh, Coming back to the configuration, like the management, also you can have.
Mm,
Also, the Prometheus pod can also be invoked there. So /Prometheus, and then it can also display like how many um, things are
thank
running. So it
you.
basically gives you production ready features for you in the
Yeah,
Spring Boot.
wonderful. Thank. Can you let me know what is the Spring Boot starter?
So Spring Boot Starter is a way by which we can invoke any transitive dependencies. Let's say if I wanted to use, uh, you know, uh, if I wanted to create one application on the web as a website, web application, so I didn't have to really configure like I want web server like Apache Tomcat I have to give like. So it basically uses the concept transitive dependencies, where you don't have to really worry about what are the dependency it does cater to. It basically work as a starter package to you. So whatever the functionality you require, it will give it based on the dependency it already contains.
Thank you. Can you let me know how to implement a conditional auto-where?
Yeah, sure. So there's a lot of flavors of at the rate auto. Sorry. Can you come again? I think misconceived.
Yeah. How to implement a conditional auto-where?
Conditional auto wire. Um,
Yeah.
Conditional auto wire. Okay. I think we can use setter method for that. Like so generally with the setter method, you can also have the optional dependency if it really requires you can have that, and otherwise uh, it
Mm,
won't create the instance of it. So with the use of the setter uh, dependency injection of the auto while you can achieve that functionality.
yeah. Are you familiar with this annotation?
Yeah, conditional on, yeah. So there's a lot of flavors, and right, like condition on bean, condition on machine bean, condition on property. We can achieve that. So yeah, if let's take an example of two different databases. The Spring Boot uses. So let's say if I'm using Oracle, and let's say if I'm using DB2, IBM DB2. So if I wanted to invoke any of the dependency, so what I can do, I can create one at the rate condition on B, and then provide value, and then there's another parameter called having. So we can define
Mm,
our values, and then if I set it as true, so actually by default value is true only. So if I set it as true, so then it will start the bean of the oracle, and if I set it true for the db2, then it will start on the db2. So based on the user input, it will start out the bean and create the bean based on
thank you very much. And uh, please let me know the ceremonies for agile methodology.
Can you come again? Okay.
Yeah, please let me know the ceremonies for agile methodology. The ceremony such as stand-up meeting.
Oh, okay. The start of the sprint. So currently we are following a sprint of 1 month. It's basically 20 days translated to 20 days. So every time, when the sprint ends, we have a retrospect call. After that, we will go down to the story points, which we do have a backlog. And if there's nothing, then we can start taking out the new requirement. And then there's a grooming sessions for each and every story. And then the stories has been assigned to the developers based on the bandwidth it has. And also in the grooming session, it also be decided like how much time, tentative time, a particular story will take. And after that, then every day after the grooming session, then we'll start tracking the status of the Jira by a stand.
Great, thank you very much. I think then we can move on to next part for coding task.
Great.
Is it okay?
Yeah, sure, definitely.
Give me a second. Let me share with you the question.
Okay.
Okay, give me a second. Let me remove some questions here.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so please do these three tasks in 15 minutes, and the requirement is you must use the streaming API to solve the problem.
Okay. Got it.
And also, what I want to highlight is that there there have three methods is already defined here, so you just need to implement the method
Oh, okay. Got it. That's great.
from 60 to 63. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Should I start, Kevin?
Yeah, please, please.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Find the student with the highest. Okay. What is the type to the type? To the The average SQL of one student. That means find the student.
Hi, Akash.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you see me right now?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Maybe it has some issue with our platform.
Okay.
So please wait a moment. Let me rejoin the meeting.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you can continue. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Oh, it's already. I didn't see that. Yeah, I think these are the solutions.
Okay, thank you very much. If you confirm your answer, then we can move ahead. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we can move on to next part for soft skills.
Okay.
My question is, can you let me know what's uh, the challenge you faced in your project and how did you overcome it?
So currently we are facing the challenge of the performance fixes. So we have that's why we have gone with Hazelcast distributed caching. So generally, currently what we are using is like before that we are using the application level cache, but it has not been distributed and it is not currently be used by the other microservices, which we basically wanted them to use in order for the load time, response time less in the UI side. So that part we have done. Also, there are some design issues with some of the microservices. So essentially, what happens
Mhm.
is we have the authentication and authorization happening, but rather than saving the token basically in the cache, what they are essentially doing, they are every time they are calling the token APIs, and basically about token is basically having a validity of 10 minutes, and we also have an API, very lightweight API in order to check whether the token is expired or not. But this particular API is basically not being used across the architecture. So we have gone through and then have taken the session and then basically embraced like it should be done. And also there's some APIs which are repetitively called in the UI side. So what we did is like we have core services, so we have enabled those APIs in the asynchronous fashion. So basically, this particular application is basically handles the authentication of a particular user. So basically, it gives out the auth token. While giving the auth token, then essentially internally we also enable the asynchronous call of those core APIs, which will help
Mhm.
the other microservices or the UI component to gather the data as and when it requires. And also, it has some limitations because the data will be still for 1 hour. But we have to go with this trade-off, otherwise the performance will not be good as we want.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. So then, actually, from my side, I don't have any questions. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, Kevin. So I think I just wanted to understand, is this hiring is for a specific project, or are we looking out for some specific?
I think actually I'm not quite sure because I'm only concentrated on the technical interview.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with the uh, interview side because for different project, the next round would be different. So it
Definitely.
depends, I think.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay. Yes.
okay,
Yeah.
so
Sure.
uh,
Yeah, I
and
had
other
a
questions?
yeah I had a good discussion with you. That's what I wanted to say. So
Okay, yeah, me too. Really nice to talk with you.
yeah,
You share a lot of knowledge with me. Yeah, that's pretty nice.
yeah. Thank you.
Okay, then if you don't have any other questions, I think we can close this meeting.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Yeah, thanks for sharing your knowledge and personal experience with me. So have a good day. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Have a good day to you.